Hello everyone, my name is Sava and I'm a banker. You know, I spent some 10 years in commercial banking and then just at the verge of the crisis, late 2008, I converted to social banking. Super timing. But then, 2 years later, in the midst of all this mess, I decided to convert back to commercial banking. Now, talking about the counter-cyclical move, eh? And I guess the reason why I decided to convert back, actually, it's not quite the Wall Street banks. I'm now in Graz, which is sort of the southern province of Austria, with a very well regionally anchored community bank, is that in social banking, I wasn't quite ready to write off the first part of my career in commercial banking. And I thought, you know, all this time until like a year ago, I was thinking I was doing a decent job, a pretty respectable one, and then all of a sudden it proved all wrong. And there was this little voice always saying, man, go back, try to do it differently, man, come on. So my authenticity to myself in social banking wasn't quite there yet, to a level where I would say, yes, this is what I bet my life on. So I converted back. But with all these metamorphoses, and as the friends from U2 very forcefully put it, I still have not quite found what I'm looking for. And to make the message even sort of more strong, I decided to establish my own in-bank rock band so that, you know, we can deliver this message. We still have not found what we're looking for. But at least I came up with a name, for lack of a better alternative. And my name is Enlightened Capitalism. It's not my invention. I obviously Googled it immediately, and there are a few things in the web sphere, but guess what? The Facebook site of Enlightened Capitalism has 20 likes. 20 likes on the Facebook site of Enlightened Capitalism. I don't know how people defined it. I tried to define it for myself, and this is my humble definition. I think it should create lasting well-being for all constituencies. I think it should give a meaning to business beyond profits, and I think it should be open for all of us to participate in it. Wanted. And then I started sort of developing a little theory how we can refine the search. It doesn't have a GPS, tag, and even Google cannot find it. So I started developing a system. How can I find it? You see, in life, I see two chains. The one is the economic value chain. You mobilize resources, you build something, sell it for a profit, build it on, and that's how capitalism works in its essence. Imagine it's a steel chain. It's big and powerful, but if you put too much weight on it, or should I say if you put too much leverage on it, it breaks. But then there is this other chain. There's an emotional value chain. Actually, it's a little thread, a silk thread, which in the business world most of the time is invisible. Because, sort of it works, everybody's pretty happy, you have the occasional grumpiness, but it's there. But when emotions start building up, this becomes a very powerful thing. Because pound for pound, silk is stronger than steel. And these days, there are a lot of emotions coming up. And somehow, I have the feeling that the steel chain and the silk chain are not pulling in the same direction. I wonder why this feeling is. So, I said, for me, in enlightened capitalism, these two chains will be closely intertwined and all pulling in the same direction. And I can see some points where the chains are linking. It all revolves about the question, what do you really care for in life? If you're in business, obviously you care about your business. But how much do you really care about the people impacted by your business? I say in enlightened capitalism, the ratio should be probably 50-50. And I see that three links where these connections are happening. It's at the individual level, institutional level, and at the end about the communities. A caring individual, or I say pragmatic fanatic, which I guess fits with the Y generation description, lives by the motto, if you believe it, be it and live it. Being about it is really showing your values and what you care for, and living it is trying to make an impact with them on others. And, sort of in our lives, we say, your passions you oftentimes leave at the office door. And so you go to job and do your normal thing, and then you go back in your private life, you're a different person. Let me tell you a story. I had a great colleague by the name of Hermie Herbert. No one of you knows her in this room. She was working in our foreign payments department. She was excellent in her job and very well loved by her colleagues. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks ago, we lost her to cancer at the age of 54. We went to the funeral, and there I saw a couple of hundred people. And then I found out that outside work, she was devoting a big part of her time caring for terminally ill elderly people, and was also a very active member in her church community. And to me, from a great worker, one which really didn't cause you any problems, she became this super person with a tremendous heart. And there was one question bugging me. Now, what could have our organization done to have given her a bit more room to realize this tremendous heart also at work? So it's about a caring company. And in business there are 4 P's about product, place, promotion, and price. And I see 4 P's of a caring company. It starts with a purpose. It goes with principles, your values, which sort of people internalize and live. It goes through professionalism, because after all, you are in business and you have to be excellent both for the clients and for your employees. And it ends with the passion. And these are really sort of the bonds that are much stronger than your rules of procedure, org structures, and hierarchies. And to tell you the truth, I think big organizations are pretty miserable at caring. I think the answer is, in a big organization, you have to break it down. And you have to reconnect it through these 4 P's. Find the people who tick by them, connect them, give them some autonomy, let them run. This is like the, organic organizational structure. So the way a big organization behaves, it should be fragmented in myriads of little caring units. And in small organizations or family businesses, this is much more often the case than in a big one. So far, so good. And when this organization really cares, it should reach out and form coalitions around its mission. And that's where caring communities arise. You probably have heard about the Move Your Money movement in the US. If this lady moved her money from a big Wall Street bank, I'm pretty sure, the bank would not be very scared, even if thousands or tens of thousands of them. But then a year ago, some of the US communities started joining the movement and said, we're a big municipality, we don't like what you do with your foreclosures, the way you treat your customers, so we move $1 billion from your balance sheet. Now things start getting interesting. And with every sort of new wave of protest, the Move Your Money movement gets another push. But still, most of these movements are protest movements. People care against, they don't care for. And I found this one little anecdote from Egypt, which shows a human chain. These are people in front of their National Museum of Arts, protecting the historic and cultural heritage of the country in the midst of all the turmoil. And in my version of Enlightened Capitalism, the gentleman with a tie, maybe a banker, and maybe the person next to him is a Mubarak, supporter, and the person next to him is a revolutionary. But there is something much stronger connecting them. It's their commitment to their identity, values, and humanity as such. And as you can see, there's a big tank in the background as well, which obviously makes the human chain much stronger than it otherwise would be. So if you think about a big bank, why not a big tank? So this is my kind of hunch about how enlightened capitalism could work. I would like to leave you with 2 questions. The first question is, in your immediate surrounding, what kind of social order would you really, 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 really care about? And the second question is, assuming you know this a bit, how can you build an economic and an emotional value chain around it and tie them? And a lot of the stuff we see in social business is built around emotional value chains, which then pull the economic value chain in it, in contrast to the normal capitalism. But here I would just like to make a bit of a historical recourse to the age of enlightenment, some 350 years ago. You know, sort of the Western world, as it is set up now, was pretty much born in the age of enlightenment. Capitalism and the representative democracy systems. And back then, an emerging economically active middle class rose and said, we don't want no more feudalism or monarchies. And also, the church as a single scientific and moral authority was questioned. Obviously, there was also Protestantism and stuff. In some countries, there were also a few enlightened monarchs and part of the establishment which joined the movement. In others, there were revolutions, counter-revolutions, until it finally got there. Generally, I think the countries where the establishment embraced this and implemented it were better off in terms of social costs and economic progress, historically looking. I think a lot of people today are asking themselves, what is the enlightenment and capitalism we need today? My personal story is this, being a normal banker, trying to contribute a bit to enlightened capitalism and looking for it is fulfilling enough for me. It gives me the authenticity and honesty in my job. It allows me to live my values and convictions. And it also gives me the potential to reach out and build emotional value chain with social entrepreneurs, with social businesses, with people who care inside and outside the bank. And probably as a consequence of this, with our rock band, it also gives me a model of capitalism I can sing out from my heart. And the good thing about singing is when you want to build an emotional value chain, it's much stronger than any presentation or any analysis and whatnot. And can you imagine that these are bankers there? So in closing, I would ask you, if we may, to try and sing with me a little sort of attempt at a micro rock career with a cover version, which I would like to do. This is the refrain, by the way. The smash hit is the flash. And it's inspired by the good.bee, which is the social entrepreneurship outfit of the Erste Group. And it's about the dialogue between a profit-driven businessman and the good.bee. What are you? Says the profit-driven businessman. Good.bee, you got to let me know. How can business be social? You're making money or you're not. And if you're not, you go control. So come on and let me know. How can business be social? It would be sexy. A profit-driven businessman. You can do good and everyone can. Just forget about the greed and think what other human needs men. But most importantly of all, is simple human act for all. That was the refrain, and that's what all of you can sing. And that's what I'm saying. Make your business a bit social. Make your business a bit social.